Alright folks, buckle up because things are about to get messy. We're talking about artificial intelligence, specifically those fancy algorithms that can spit out articles, songs, even code, faster than you can say copyright infringement. Now, the old rules of the game were pretty simple: you create, you own, you profit, but generative AI throws that whole system out the window. See, these AI systems are like those kids in school who copy off your homework but swear they made it their own. They're trained on mountains of existing data, gobbling up everything from Shakespeare to, well, let's just say things you wouldn't want your grandma to see. The problem is, who owns the rights to the AI's output? Is it the folks who built the AI, the ones who own the data it trained on? Or is it just floating in some digital ether, free for the taking? This is a nightmare for traditional copyright law, which is about as equipped to handle this as a goldfish is to perform open-heart surgery. We need new rules, folks, and we need them yesterday. Because if we don't sort this out, we're looking at a future where creativity is stifled and the only ones raking in the dough are the tech giants who own these AI systems. And trust me, you don't want to live in a world where the only new content is generated by a machine. That's how you end up with a never-ending loop of Baby Shark, and frankly, humanity deserves better. So we've got this brave new world of AI-generated content, but where does it all go? The internet, of course. More specifically, those massive digital platforms we all know and, well, some of us tolerate. I'm talking about the YouTubes, the Spotifys, the Facebooks of the world. These platforms are the gatekeepers, the curators, the all-powerful algorithms deciding what we see, hear, and ultimately, what makes money. On the one hand, these platforms have been a godsend for creators. They've democratized content creation, giving anyone with a smartphone and a dream the potential to reach a global audience. No more begging record labels for a shot or praying a network executive picks up your call. You can just upload your masterpiece and let the internet do its thing. But here's the catch, and folks, there's always a catch. These platforms hold all the cards. They set the terms of service, control the algorithms that determine visibility, and take a hefty cut of the profits. You might have millions of views, but are you actually getting paid a fair share? That's debatable. It's like going to a casino where the house always wins, except the house also gets to decide what games you can play and how much you're allowed to win. Not exactly a fair fight, is it? Now, these platforms will tell you they're just playing matchmaker, connecting creators with their audience. They call it a two-sided market, where they provide the platform and everyone else benefits, and sure, there's some truth to that. But what they conveniently leave out is that the scales are tipped heavily in their favor. Think about it. You've got premium content, the stuff people are willing to pay for, your award-winning documentaries, your chart-topping albums, your Pulitzer-worthy journalism. Then you've got the common content, the cat videos, the vlogs, the clickbait articles. Both have their place, but their value is vastly different. The problem is, platforms often treat them the same, lumping them all together in their algorithms and revenue models. This creates a system where high-quality content gets lost in the sea of mediocrity, and creators struggle to get fairly compensated for their work. It's like going to a restaurant where a Michelin-starred meal costs the same as a bag of chips. Sure, you can get your fill, but something doesn't quite feel right, does it? Section 4, Newsflash, it's complicated. Let's take a look at the news industry, shall we? A shining example of how this whole platform-creator relationship can go horribly wrong. News organizations spend time, money, and resources producing important, often groundbreaking journalism. They employ real, live humans who risk their necks to bring us the truth. And then what happens? Platforms like Google swoop in, aggregate that content, and serve it up to their users, often without any proper attribution or compensation. Now, Google might argue they're driving traffic to news websites, and they do to some extent, but they're also benefiting from that content without contributing to its creation. They're like that friend who shows up to a potluck empty-handed but devours everyone else's food. Rude, right? This has led to a lot of finger-pointing and a few lawsuits, but no real solution. The relationship between platforms and news organizations remains as clear as mud, and journalists are left wondering if they'll be able to pay rent next month. Not exactly a recipe for a thriving free press, is it? Section 5, Platforms, Creators, or Competitors. Here's another wrinkle in this whole mess. Platforms are increasingly becoming creators themselves. YouTube has its own original content, Spotify is signing artists directly, and Facebook is doing whatever Facebook does. This blurring of lines further complicates the issue of compensation. When a platform acts as both the distributor and the creator, how do we ensure a level playing field? How can we be sure they're not prioritizing their own content over that of independent creators? It's like competing against Amazon while also relying on them to sell your product. Good luck with that. This is where things get really dicey. Platforms have access to mountains of data, giving them an unfair advantage in understanding what content will be successful. They can then use this information to create their own content, potentially squeezing out independent creators in the process. It's a classic case of the rich getting richer and the rest of us wondering what happened. Section 6. A new deal for the digital age. So what's the solution? Well folks, if I had a magic wand and could wave away all these problems, I wouldn't be hosting a satirical news show now, would I? But even without magical intervention, there are steps we can take. First and foremost, we need a new framework for content compensation in the digital age. This framework needs to recognize the value of different content types, ensuring that high-quality content is properly rewarded. It also needs to address the power imbalance between platforms and creators, creating a more equitable playing field. And it needs to be flexible enough to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of technology and content creation. This isn't going to be easy. It'll require collaboration between creators, platforms, policymakers, and probably a team of highly caffeinated lawyers. But it's a conversation we need to have, and we need to have it now. Section 7. The clock is ticking. The rise of generative AI has only added fuel to this already raging fire. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they're going to create even more content, further complicating the issue of ownership and compensation. We're at a crossroads, folks, and the path we choose will have a profound impact on the future of creativity and innovation. We can either continue down the current path, where a handful of powerful platforms control the flow of information and reap the majority of the rewards, or we can choose a different future, one where creators are fairly compensated for their work and where innovation and creativity are allowed to flourish. The choice is ours, but the clock is ticking. Let's not screw this up.